It's 1 o'clock GMT. Hello, I'm Roger Hearing, and this is Business Matters on the BBC World Service. We're connecting the time zones. Today we're live in Philadelphia and London. Coming up on the programme, more chaos as Theresa May tries to get backing for her plan to get Britain out of the EU. And unsexy business, how we should encourage entrepreneurs outside the world of high-tech. That's Business Matters here on the BBC, coming up after the latest BBC News. Well, let's lead to business leadership now, because we're used to the stars of the worlds of business being titans of technology, giants of social media, glamorous game innovators. But are we missing something? Is it time we paid a bit more attention to the importance of entrepreneurs in, well, more unsexy fields of trade and commerce? Well, Jamie Waller certainly thinks so. He runs venture capital investor group Firestarters, and now he's written a book about all this called Unsexy Business. So, who are these unsexy businesses?
Well, I guess, what you would normally think of as a basic business. So a business that we just come across every day. Think about buying a coffee or zips. One of the biggest private companies in the world is called YKK. They make 50% of the world's zips. It's amazing. And the world's full of what I have sort of coined the term unsexy businesses. And
the problem being that people don't put entrepreneurship or ideas or inspiration into them because they're unsexy.
Exactly. And it's a more of a recent thing. But, if you think of the sort of richest people in the world, you think of the people like the owner of Amazon or the owner of Facebook, etc. And people are just forgetting what actually makes this world go round, which is the basic businesses that we use every day. And I personally feel we're letting people down. If you go and ask people at the age of 16 to 22 now what entrepreneurship means, they think it means inventing. They think, designing an application, an app for something. And that's not the reality. Entrepreneurship is business, and business can be anything from selling shoes to selling advertising like Facebook.
And that's what your book's about, because you're saying that people can do things with these unsexy businesses in ways that makes them compete with things like Facebook or Apple or any of those kind of things.
Exactly. So, don't get me wrong, the sexy businesses power the unsexy businesses. So, for example, the power of Facebook advertising to get to individual people for a lower cost point than maybe going on to a national TV channel, that's really powerful. But what I'm saying is it only takes a few sexy businesses to power hundreds of millions of unsexy businesses. So, you take businesses that we just take for granted. Starbucks, it's just a coffee shop. It might be a sexy brand of a coffee shop, but it's just a coffee shop. And we must remember that McDonald's is just a burger chain. It sells burgers. And if you strip away the sex of the brand or the technology they're using, Tesla, Uber. Tesla's a car sales company. It's no different than Ford. Now, when Ford first came onto the scene, of course that was sexy because it was innovative new technology. But it's just car sales now, and the same with Uber. What is Uber? It's a taxi firm powered by sexy tech.
So what you're saying, the message that's in your book, is that even the most unsexy industries can be made sexy. I mean, I'm using these terms because you're using them, but that's your vision.
If you honestly believe that you need to be an inventor of something revolutionary and new to become an entrepreneur, then you are absolutely wrong. And we are failing people because people are giving up, either not going to university or coming out of university saying, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to get a group of friends together and we're going to try and work out what we can invent. And then they're going to waste 5 or 10 years of their life building apps that nobody will use. And that, I think, is not very useful.
So what they should be doing is putting that kind of expertise and that inspiration into window cleaning or making zips.
Absolutely. What I'm saying, there is room to do things better. You don't have to be an inventor to be an entrepreneur. You can see something that's done, something you touch every day, and improve upon it. Pret, the coffee chain, did it by better customer service than their competitors when selling coffee. Think of ways on improving something that's required every day rather than thinking of something that may be needed in the future, because the chances of success are vastly greater by just repeating what somebody's already done because they've proven there's a market for it.
Jamie Waller there, speaking to me here on what we've decided, courtesy of Jonathan Izard, is sexy business matters now. I mean, Simon, taking away from the terms, technology, which I suppose one could question, do you buy the argument? Do you think this is a problem?
Well, I'm all for sexy. I mean, come on, let's be clear about that.
All right.
Look, he's right. Most people make money in quite mundane occupations, firstly. Secondly, this notion of entrepreneurialism, Singapore is a country which is always talking about fostering creativity. because it has an education system that does exactly the opposite, frankly. And that always gets me into trouble when I assert that, but that is widely believed by employers. You cannot make people into entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs happen because of their very nature. And entrepreneurs, of course, are disruptive. They're the kind of people that don't listen in class or disagree with what teacher says. They're not welcome generally.
But they're working on some of, perhaps, as we say, the less sexy things, but need to be more of them doing it.
Indeed.